Welcome to Wisdom in Question, where we explore timeless wisdom and life-changing insights. Why do the worst so often come out on top? History, business, and politics are filled with ruthless individuals who lie, manipulate, and dominate their way to power, while those who play fair are left wondering why virtue didn't prevail. Nietzsche saw this brutal pattern centuries ago, and his explosive ideas, master versus slave morality, the will to power, and the Übermensch, reveal why aggression wins in the short term. But true dominance demands something deeper. We live in a world where morality and success often seem at odds. Look around you. In business, politics, and even personal relationships, those willing to bend the rules frequently come out on top. This uncomfortable truth reveals a fundamental reality about power. It favors those unburdened by hesitation. Throughout history, the pattern repeats itself with chilling consistency. The conquerors who built empires weren't the most virtuous, but the most determined. The corporate leaders who dominate industries aren't always the most ethical, but the most aggressive. From Genghis Khan's brutal conquests to modern corporate raiders, the lesson remains the same. In the competition for limited resources, the ruthless have a distinct advantage. Machiavelli understood this dynamic when he wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved." His insight wasn't about advocating cruelty, but recognizing human nature. When survival is at stake, people respond more strongly to fear than to kindness. Centuries later, Robert Greene echoed this in his modern classic, The 48 Laws of Power, advising readers to crush your enemy totally, not out of malice, but because half measures invite retaliation. We see this principle play out in contemporary examples. Corporate scandals like Enron reveal how short-term thinking and ethical compromises can lead to spectacular success, followed by equally spectacular collapse. Political leaders who employ ruthless tactics often achieve their immediate goals, only to sow the seeds of their eventual downfall. The critical insight isn't that we should all become cutthroat operators. Rather, we must understand that power operates by its own rules. Moral hesitation creates vulnerabilities that others will exploit. The solution isn't to abandon ethics, but to develop what we might call strategic virtue, the ability to maintain one's principles while understanding and navigating power dynamics effectively. True power comes not from blind ruthlessness, but from understanding these dynamics while staying true to deeper values. The most successful leaders throughout history, from business to politics, have been those who could balance strength with wisdom, who could compete fiercely without losing their humanity. This is the paradox we must resolve. The world rewards aggression, but lasting success requires more. It demands that we understand power without being corrupted by it, that we compete without compromising what makes us worthy of victory in the first place. The challenge isn't to become ruthless, but to become strong enough that we don't need to be. The choice before us is clear. We can lament the unfairness of the world, or we can develop the strength to navigate it successfully. We can remain idealistic and ineffectual, or we can become powerful enough to actually implement our ideals. The path forward requires not the abandonment of morality, but the development of moral strength, the kind that understands power without being seduced by its darker applications. The question isn't whether the ruthless will win. They often do in the short term. The real question is whether we can develop a better way to succeed, one that leads to lasting achievement without sacrificing our humanity. That is the true challenge of power, and the only victory worth having. There exists an invisible battle, raging beneath the surface of our civilization, not between armies or nations, but between two fundamentally opposed visions of what it means to be good. Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher who dared to question all our moral certainties, revealed this conflict in his explosive work, Beyond Good and Evil. What he uncovered should make every thinking person reconsider everything they've been taught about right and wrong. Nietzsche identified two moral systems locked in eternal struggle. On one side stands master morality, the code of the strong, the conquerors, those who shape history through sheer will. These are the Alexanders of the world who don't ask permission to remake the map. Their virtues? Strength, courage, ambition, and the absolute determination to impose their vision upon reality. To these masters, goodness means power, creativity, and self-determination. They don't seek validation, they are the validators. Opposing them stands slave morality, the refuge of the powerless. Born from resentment rather than strength, it glorifies humility, meekness, and self-denial. Blessed are the poor in spirit becomes its battle cry. While master morality says, I am good, therefore what is different is bad, slave morality begins with, you are evil, therefore we are good. It's the morality of those who cannot conquer, so they instead condemn conquest itself. Look around you, and you'll see these forces at war. The corporate titan who reshapes industries through sheer will embodies master morality. The social movements that brand ambition as greed express slave morality. Ancient Rome's warrior ethos represented master values, while early Christianity's "the meek shall inherit the earth" epitomized the slave revolt in morals. Here's Nietzsche's devastating insight. Slave morality doesn't actually restrain the powerful, it disarms their potential competitors. By teaching that ambition is sinful and power corrupt, it convinces the masses to stay in their place. The ruthless ignore these teachings anyway, while the potentially great among us hesitate, burdened by guilt. The result? The strong continue to rule, just more ruthlessly, because no one with master potential dares to challenge them on moral grounds. This explains why our world seems so perversely arranged, why the worst so often rise while the virtuous struggle. It's not that morality doesn't matter, but that we've been fighting with the wrong moral weapons. Nietzsche forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Our most cherished ideals about humility and equality might actually be perpetuating the very power imbalances they claim to oppose. The solution isn't to abandon morality, but to understand its origins in power struggles. The truly free individual, what Nietzsche called the Übermensch, transcends this dichotomy. They create their own values, neither blindly dominating nor meekly submitting. They recognize that true power begins with self-mastery, not the oppression of others. This is Nietzsche's challenge to us. Will we continue reciting moral codes created by others for their benefit? Or will we have the courage to examine our values, discard what holds us back, and forge our own path to greatness? The choice determines not just individual fates, but the future of our civilization itself. The war of moralities continues. Which side will you empower? Beneath every human action, behind every great achievement, there pulses a primal force that most dare not name, the will to power. This isn't the crude domination of tyrants, but something far more profound and unsettling. Friedrich Nietzsche, in his visionary work Thus Spoke Zarathustra, revealed this fundamental truth. Power isn't just something we seek, it's what we are. Every choice we make, every dream we pursue, every resistance we overcome springs from this deepest of human drives. Consider the entrepreneur who reshapes entire industries. Steve Jobs didn't simply want to make computers. He needed to impose his vision upon the world, to make reality conform to his imagination. Or the artist like Picasso, who shattered centuries of tradition because his creative will demanded new forms of expression. These aren't merely talented individuals, they're embodiments of the will to power in its highest form. They didn't ask permission to reinvent painting or redefine technology. They saw what could be and made it so. Nietzsche's genius was recognizing that this drive manifests differently in each of us. For the strong, it becomes creation and transformation. The architect reshaping the skyline, the scientist overturning paradigms, the philosopher forging new ways of thinking. For the weak, it twists inward, becoming resentment of those who dare or blind obedience to those who rule. The office drone who secretly despises his successful colleague, the artist who abandons her vision to please critics. These too are expressions of the will to power, though stunted and deformed. This changes everything we thought we knew about human nature. Our economic systems assume we're motivated by pleasure. Our political systems imagine we seek only security. Nietzsche shows us these are surface illusions. What we truly crave is to feel our power growing, expanding, leaving its mark on the world. The entrepreneur building an empire, the parent shaping a child's character, even the gardener transforming a patch of earth. All are answering the same fundamental call, yet here lies the razor's edge. This same force that built cathedrals and cured diseases also fueled history's worst atrocities. The will to power is neither good nor evil. It simply is. What matters is its direction. Will it be the power over others that diminishes the world, or the power over oneself that enhances it? The conqueror's power that takes, or the creator's power that gives? Our civilization stands at a crossroads. We can continue pretending this force doesn't exist, leaving it to manifest in destructive ways. In cutthroat business practices, in toxic political games, in quiet lives of desperate competition. Or we can acknowledge and channel it consciously, harnessing this tremendous energy to create, to build, to elevate ourselves and those around us. Nietzsche's challenge echoes across the centuries. Will you deny your will to power and live half alive, or embrace it fully and become who you truly are? The fire moves in you already. The question is whether you'll let it warm the world or burn it down. This isn't philosophy. It's the most practical truth you'll ever confront. Your power awaits its direction. What will you make of it? Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, looking across a vast chasm. On the near side lies everything familiar, the comfortable morality you've been taught, the safe boundaries of conventional thinking, the well-worn path trodden by generations before you. On the far side, something terrifying and exhilarating, the possibility of becoming more than human. This is Nietzsche's Übermensch, not a Superman in the comic book sense, but the ultimate expression of what humanity could become if we dared to break our self-imposed chains. Most of us live our entire lives as echoes, repeating values we never chose, following rules we never questioned, chasing goals we never truly examined. The Übermensch represents the opposite of this spiritual slavery. This is the individual who looks at society's moral codes and asks, who says? Who examines traditions and keeps only what serves human flourishing? Who understands that true freedom isn't about rebelling against all values, but about creating better ones? We catch glimpses of this higher humanity in history's great transformers. Think of Elon Musk, not for his wealth or fame, but for his refusal to accept that space travel must remain the domain of governments, that electric cars must be boring, that neural technology must stay in science fiction. Like the Übermensch, he doesn't ask whether something should be done according to existing norms. He asks whether it can be done to push humanity forward, or consider Socrates, who stood alone against Athenian society, not out of contrarianism, but because he valued truth more than comfort or safety. Both examples reveal the essence of the Übermensch, not mere rebellion, but the courage to create new standards when old ones have become chains. Nietzsche's profound insight was recognizing that our conventional morality often serves as a cage for human potential. The Übermensch breaks free not through mindless destruction, but through disciplined self-creation. This ideal being combines the strength of a conqueror with the wisdom of a philosopher, powerful enough to reshape the world, but disciplined enough to first reshape themselves. Here's what most misinterpret about Nietzsche's vision. The Übermensch isn't about dominating others, but about mastering oneself. It's not the schoolyard bully who represents this ideal, but the artist who transforms pain into beauty, the entrepreneur who turns obstacles into opportunities, the thinker who converts confusion into clarity. True overcoming begins within. Our modern world desperately needs this concept, not as a license for selfishness, but as a challenge to our complacency. In an age of mindless conformity, algorithmic thinking, and prefabricated identities, the Übermensch stands as a revolutionary alternative. The human being who chooses their own values with clear eyes, who bears the responsibility of self-creation without flinching, who treats life not as something to endure but as raw material to shape. This isn't about becoming inhuman. It's about becoming more fully human than we've allowed ourselves to be. The path isn't easy. It requires abandoning the security of ready-made answers, facing the terror of true freedom, and bearing the loneliness that often accompanies greatness. But the alternative, living as domesticated animals in a moral zoo, is ultimately more terrifying. Nietzsche gives us the ultimate choice. Will you remain part of the herd, or will you begin the difficult work of becoming the Übermensch? The bridge stands before you. Will you cross? We've all been fed the same comforting bedtime story since childhood. Be good, work hard, and the world will reward you. It's a seductive myth that wraps reality in moral fairy tales, where villains always lose, virtue always triumphs, and life somehow balances its scales in the end. But wake up and look around. This isn't how the world actually works. Psychologist Melvin Lerner gave this delusion a name: the just world fallacy, our desperate need to believe that people get what they deserve. This isn't just harmless optimism, it's a mental trap with real consequences. That dedicated employee who spends years waiting for recognition, only to watch a less competent but politically savvy colleague get promoted. The idealistic politician who plays by the rules while rivals manipulate the system to their advantage. These aren't exceptions, they're the predictable outcomes of believing in cosmic fairness. The hard truth: life doesn't reward goodness, it rewards effectiveness. The just world fallacy paralyzes us twice over. First, it makes us passive. We stop fighting for what we want because we assume merit will magically be recognized. Second, it blinds us to how power actually operates. We ignore the strategies and systems that truly determine success. Like children believing in Santa Claus, we cling to the fantasy that some moral accounting department is tallying our virtues and will eventually pay out. History's greatest achievers understood this truth. They knew that while integrity matters, it must be paired with awareness. They recognized that waiting for fairness is like waiting for the ocean to become calm. You'll be standing on shore forever. The Renaissance princes who patronized art while playing brutal politics, the tech visionaries who changed the world while outmaneuvering competitors, they weren't naive about how rewards are actually distributed. But here's the crucial distinction. Rejecting the just world fallacy doesn't mean abandoning ethics. It means growing up. It's understanding that while the universe may not care about fairness, we must, not because it will be rewarded, but because it's our choice to make the world slightly less unjust. The mature perspective recognizes that justice isn't something we wait for, it's something we create through intelligent action. This realization is both terrifying and liberating. Terrifying because it means no cosmic parent is coming to make things right. Liberating because it means you're finally free to open your eyes, study how the game is really played, and start taking responsibility for your own outcomes. The choice is stark. Continue believing in imaginary justice, or develop the wisdom to navigate the world as it actually exists. The truth will set you free, but first, it will shatter your illusions. Are you ready to see clearly? Your future depends on the answer. We stand at a crossroads in our understanding of power. On one path lies naive idealism, the belief that virtue alone will triumph. On the other, cold pragmatism, the ruthless pursuit of success at any cost. But there exists a third way, far more subtle and powerful: strategic integrity. This is not some weak compromise between extremes, but a higher mastery. The ability to navigate reality's complexities without abandoning your moral center. Consider Abraham Lincoln, who preserved democracy while outmaneuvering his political opponents. Or Patagonia's Yvon Chouinard, who built a billion-dollar business while revolutionizing environmental responsibility. These exemplars understood what Sun Tzu meant when he advised, "Know yourself, know your enemy." Their strength came not from ignoring reality's harsh truths, but from facing them with clear eyes and steady principles. Strategic integrity begins with brutal honesty, not about abandoning your values, but about understanding how the world actually works. The naive believe good intentions create their own rewards. The cynical believe ethics are obstacles to success. But those with strategic integrity recognize a deeper truth. Principles properly understood become powerful competitive advantages. This approach transforms empathy from weakness into strength. Where others see deception to avoid, the strategically integrated see patterns to understand. They study opponents' tactics not to imitate their ruthlessness, but to anticipate and neutralize dishonest strategies. Like a martial artist using an attacker's momentum against them, they turn ethical challenges into opportunities for principled victory. The business leader who builds trust through transparency gains loyal partners. The politician who keeps promises accumulates real influence. The professional who maintains boundaries commands respect. These aren't exceptions. They demonstrate the quiet power of strategic integrity in action. They prove that while cheaters may win battles, authentic leaders win wars. Sun Tzu's ancient wisdom finds modern application here. Know yourself means rigorous self-honesty about your values and limits. Know your enemy means clear-eyed assessment of competitive realities. Together they create what we might call moral leverage, the ability to achieve more through integrity than others do through compromise. This path demands more than good intentions. It requires discipline. The discipline to walk away from tempting but unethical shortcuts. The discipline to prepare thoroughly so you're not forced into moral compromises. The discipline to build systems that make ethical behavior the easiest choice. These aren't constraints on success, they're its foundation. Strategic integrity offers what neither blind idealism nor cynical pragmatism can: lasting success you can be proud of. Not the hollow victories of those who sacrifice their souls for gain, nor the moral vanity of those who never truly tested their principles in the arena, but the authentic achievements of those who proved, through disciplined action, that power and ethics can not only coexist, but amplify each other. The challenge before us isn't choosing between winning and being good. It's rising to the level where we do both simultaneously. This isn't just possible, it's the only success worth having. The question is, do you have the courage and skill to walk this higher path? Your legacy will be the answer. Power is the most misunderstood force in human affairs. We flinch from it like children recoiling from fire, forgetting that this same energy heats our homes and forges our tools. Nietzsche saw through this confusion when he revealed power as life's fundamental pulse, neither angel nor demon, but raw potential awaiting direction. Like nuclear energy that can light cities or level them, power's moral weight lies entirely in the hands of its wielder. History's starkest contrasts prove this truth. Gandhi's non-violent resistance toppled an empire, while Hitler's military might destroyed his own nation. Both wielded tremendous power. One channeled it into liberation, the other into annihilation. The difference wasn't in the power itself, but in the character and vision of those who held it. This is power's essential neutrality. It amplifies what already exists in the human heart, revealing our deepest nature through action rather than intention. Modern psychology confirms what ancient wisdom long taught. Corrupt power doesn't spring from strength, but from its opposite. The tyrant's brutality masks bottomless insecurity. The micromanager's control betrays fundamental self-doubt. True power, like that embodied by Nietzsche's Übermensch, flows from wholeness rather than hunger. It creates not because it needs validation, but because creation is its nature. The artist shaping marble, the engineer solving crises, the teacher awakening minds. These are power's purest expressions. Our cultural narratives about power have misled us. We confuse domination with strength, accumulation with success. But real power resembles a master sculptor's chisel. Its value lies not in possessing it, but in what one creates through its application. The business leader who empowers employees generates lasting value where the dictator extracts temporary obedience. The community organizer who builds coalitions achieves what the demagogue's rants never could. This understanding transforms how we approach influence in daily life. Power becomes not something to fear or hoard, but to master and direct. The parent disciplining through wisdom rather than threats, the executive leading through inspiration rather than fear, the activist creating change through solidarity rather than force, all demonstrate power's higher possibilities. Nietzsche's radical insight was that power at its zenith becomes indistinguishable from love, the capacity to nurture growth beyond oneself. The Übermensch creates values rather than imposing them, builds rather than destroys, liberates rather than controls. This is power's highest calling. not to rule over others, but to summon forth the latent possibilities in ourselves and our world. The challenge before us is neither to reject power nor worship it, but to become worthy of wielding it. In a world desperate for constructive leadership, we must move beyond childish notions of power as inherently corrupting. Like fire mastered by our ancestors, power awaits our maturity. Will we use it to burn or to forge? The answer defines not just individual destinies, but the future of our civilization. So here's the truth. The world rewards those who take power, not those who wait for permission. The ruthless rise because they play by a different set of rules, one that most aren't willing to face. But their victory isn't inevitable. Nietzsche showed us the path of the Übermensch, not mindless domination, but self-mastery. Not blind aggression, but strategic strength. You don't have to become a monster to win, but you do have to wake up, to see the game for what it is, to sharpen your mind, and to wield power with precision. Because in the end, the choice isn't between being the predator or the prey. It's about becoming the kind of force that can't be ignored. If this resonated with you, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Let's discuss how to navigate power without losing ourselves. And remember, the world belongs to those who dare to take responsibility for their own rise. See you in the next one. Every question holds the key to wisdom. Timeless wisdom, life-changing insights. If today's insights resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your perspective. Until next time, stay curious, stay wise.